Hey, when you're working in your shop in the summer, it gets hot, right? Do you ever feel like you're burning up? Well, I'm going to show you how to find out where that heat is coming from or where your cool is escaping to, as well as in the wintertime, you can see where your heat is going out with a simple device called a thermal imaging camera, and it attaches to your phone. We're going to do that right after this. Okay, I came across a device here recently that I've been wanting to try out for quite a while. It's basically an infrared thermal camera. Now, if you've ever watched like some of the police helicopter chases and they break out, the big light, and they sometimes switch to FLIR, that's forward-looking infrared. Basically, it means that infrared cameras can differentiate between heat and cold. Well, that used to be a really expensive technology for the consumer, but now it's getting down to the very affordable range. For just, I think it's a couple $100, you can pick up your own. And this company reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to try this. This is the TapeBuddy TC View. The model number, I'll put that on the screen. It's TC002. Thermal imaging camera. Now I'll put a link to all these items I talk about on videos in the description right below. But basically, this is a little bitty tiny thermal infrared camera. So it comes in a nice case here to protect it. And like I said, I've wanted one of these for a long time. There's so many uses for one of these around the house, automotive, working on electronics, heating, cooling systems. Anywhere that you think you may have a heat problem or cold or heat loss or any of that, if you want to see what part of your system is getting too warm, etc., these things can really show you a lot of that detail. Now, it's really simple. Now, it's just this little bitty device here, and it's going to attach right to the bottom of my cell phone. You can get it for Android too. This has got the iPhone attachment. And when I connect this, so now I'm going to open up my phone and put that in. And as soon as I do, it says, would I like to connect to this device? That quick, you tap it, you allow it, it opens up the app. Of course, you got to download this app first. And then you've got temperature monitoring capability. You got a gallery where you can see the pictures or video you took with this thing, and you can turn on this thermal imaging. Now, the way this works, I'm going to show you some video of it on screen, but for right now, I'm just going to tell you that the way it works is it establishes a high and a low over on this scale, depending on where you're looking. So it basically finds the highest temperature, and then it's a kind of a gradient scale. I think I'll have to look up what the temperature differential is, but right now it's reading 64 down here and 88 up here. So right now it's reading 20 degrees difference roughly. Now that scale and those numbers change depending on what you're pointing at. Like if I pointed at my hand, you can see my hand is kind of glowing. The upper scale is 90, and if I come over here and let's say point it more at this bench, it goes down to 74. So it's constantly adjusting based upon what you're pointing it at. The main thing is you're going to see color differentials. On the bottom, it's kind of a purplish. That's the colder color. The top is kind of a yellowish, and that is the hotter color. So now you can flip these around, have different kind of scales that can have different colors. I'll try and show you some of those too, but I'm just going to use this one because it shows the hot spots and the cold spots. So how do you use something like this? Well, it's really fairly simple. If we walk around and point at something. I'm going to start recording here. You can tap right here. You can choose to take a photo of that particular spot you're looking at, or in this case, we're going to do video. I got to get my hand out of the way, but we're mainly concerned with this lens right here, not this camera lens. So I'm going to point it at my shop door over here because shop doors are notoriously not real efficient. We'll go into video. So now it's recording, and you can see the shop door is insulated. I'll show you a picture of it without the thermal, but the middle part is well insulated with fiberglass insulation, so it's on the cooler side. And down low, it's even cooler. You can see the metal bars are giving off some heat, but most of the heat is coming through up towards the top. You can see that there's a metal angle iron up there near the top, and that's putting off a good degree amount. Now, one of the spots I noticed is really one of the warm spots here is my door. There's a man door right here to the side, and that door is quite a bit hotter. Now I'm going to walk over there and you can watch the video. As we get closer, it says right in the middle is about 84 degrees. And I've got some magnetic door signs on there. It's kind of providing a little bit of insulation. And then if we pan back over here to the shop door, we can see again the metal parts have a little bit of leakage. You can see wherever your door is leaking, like this door, I can see light coming in with my visual, with my eyes, and this thing can see the leakage right along the top. So you know that's leaking. Now if we pan up to the top of the shop, up in that corner, you can see there's no insulation right in that angle, and it shows here. But there's a lot more you can do with that. Like, I recently installed a full solar system on our RV. That puts out a total of about 1,800 watts, or about 10 kilowatts a day we can generate. And that's a lot of heat. You can see in these pictures here that I can look at my solar charge controllers and all that and see where the most heat is. I can look at the cables and see if any of the cables are running too hot. If I see the cables are really way too hot, I can tell that I used too little a gauge of wire, too small of a gauge of wire, or I possibly crimped it wrong. Crimping wrong, the connections wrong, can create resistance. So you can also see the connections and how they have a different temperature. If you've got a connection that's extra warm compared to the others, that tells you probably got a bad crimp. So you can examine your electronic circuits and tell where you've got a hot spot, and a hot spot usually indicates resistance. That's how most heat is generated in electricity. It's some type of resistance. You can also take and look at a circuit board. If you're working on an electronics, look at your circuit board. You can see which components, which resistors, capacitors, diodes, anything like that that might be putting out an excess amount of heat, or any circuit junctions and that maybe you need to resolder. You can kind of tell where you've got a problem area on a circuit board. You can stand outside of your house, especially in the wintertime, and look at it through this device, and you can see where the heat is coming out. Now you're going to see usually a lot coming out of the glass, but it'll tell you if you got any cold spots, like maybe you missed some insulation, or they did when they built it, or maybe a remodel happened and it didn't get re-insulated. You'll often see the headers. Headers are usually solid wood. They'll be colder. You can see that thermal bridging happening. You'll see every stud in a picture like that because the wood studs thermally bridge the heat and cold back and forth. So it's really good for tightening up the energy efficiency of your house, seeing where you've got leakage, where you could insulate better, and things like that. So if you got a hot shop, you might want to get one of these for that reason, along with a lot of others. But here's another way you can use this. Automotive. If you do any mechanicking, Sometimes you need to know what's running really hot. Maybe you've got a bearing trying to seize up, doesn't have enough lubrication, it's old, whatever. You point this at that engine and you can see which parts are extra hot. Of course, you're going to have heat, but if you've got a really hot spot, that's something to look at as a potential failure point. So anytime you need to see that differential, HVAC systems, you can look at the efficiency of your duct insulation, all kinds of different things. You can look at the whole panel, see if you got any hot spots. It's really good for finding problems before they even happen in those situations, because we can't see it with our eye, but these things can. Okay, this was not a sponsored video. They simply sent it to me and said, you know, use it in some videos. I decided to do a dedicated video about it because I think it's a really cool product, and it's just got a lot of uses if you just keep it in mind whenever you're trying to figure out those temperature differentials on about anything. If you want to know how hot your wife is, point it at her. She'll appreciate it. Okay, maybe not, but anyway, guys, I'm going to put a link to this in the description down below, like always, and be sure and check out my other links down there, and check out our store of thatkiltedguy.com or thatkiltedguystore.com, as well as my website, thatkiltedguy.com. Hey, in 2020, we got our silver play button with 100,000 subscribers. Now we have 270,000 subscribers and over 30 million views. I had no idea when I started this in December of 2015 that I'd ever hit those numbers. To me, that means I've helped a lot of you, and I like that. That's my goal for this channel. I have run my own drywall business of Mr. Patch Drywall for nearly 20 years, and I've learned a lot of tips and tricks. Before that, I did it for 20 years in new construction, and I want to pass on those tips and tricks to you guys. And I want to help a lot of you learn even more about doing drywall mudding and hanging, finishing, etc. So we're going to be launching a series of courses on drywallacademy.com. And these courses are going to be courses that are to help everybody from the beginner that just wants to know a little bit more about drywall to the pro that wants to make this a complete business. We're going to teach you everything from bidding drywall jobs to the whole mudding, the tips and tricks, the pitfalls, all the things you need to know about drywall in a manner that's going to teach you a lot faster than our YouTube videos. So if you want to know more, be sure and sign up over at drywallacademy.com on our email list. We'll notify you each time we're putting out a course, and I'm going to give you some discounts and special offers just for those of you on that list. So hey, it's been my pleasure to help so many of you, and I look forward to helping you on these drywall courses at drywallacademy.com. I'll see you there.